Welcome back, grown-ups, to our first driver's seat of our summer series that we are calling the Rearview Mirror. As we mentioned on the mini evangelism episode and in our last mini-sode, we are taking a hiatus this summer while Pastor Drew moves to a new church and I work on my internship for seminary. So while we won't be having new episodes until the fall, we wanted to take this time to share some re-releases of our favorite episodes. And we are starting with Adam and Eve. The reason why we decided to start with this episode is because it is a very special episode to both Drew and I, because it's our first episode. It reminds us of that time almost 2 years ago where we sat down with one microphone that wasn't very good, equipment that we didn't really know how to use, and a prayer that what we were about to say was podcast worthy. And you can hear us nervously figuring out how we were going to make this work. And personally, for me, this episode makes me laugh, but it's also very special because it was really the first time that we sat down and started talking about our faith like this, in this kind of format. And it has been a wonderful journey these last 2 years. And we look forward to sharing more of our favorite episodes with you this summer. So we hope you enjoy Adam and Eve. Hello, and welcome to Mini Evangelism, the driver's seat.
Yeah.
This is our companion episode to our regular Mini Evangelisms, which Mini Evangelism, of course, is for kids and families, for everybody to listen to. But Drew, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the driver's seat is?
The idea here is to talk about the same Bible stories without the kids in the car. Because, well, for a number of reasons. One is that the best way that we can feed children with faith is actually helping their parents and grown-ups still think about their own faith. So there's also parts of these stories that adults might have questions that they're not ready to chat about with their kids. Mm-hmm. And so for both of those reasons, we wanted to offer this space so that we could make sure that parents got a chance to hear us ask questions, to point out extra things about the story that might not be as kid-friendly, and to invite parents to do their own wondering about these Bible stories as well.
Yes. And then at the end, we'll definitely talk about just like how do you talk to your kids about this.
Absolutely.
Because your kids hopefully will have questions after they listen to Mini Evangelism.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of what we do at our church. Mm-hmm. So Drew and I, if you aren't familiar, we work at a church together. Drew is the pastor and I am the children's director.
Yes.
And on Sunday mornings, we have regular church. But when it's time for the sermon, the kids will come with me. And Drew and I actually work together on, like, we teach the same thing. It's just he teaches it for adults. Right. And I teach it to kids.
Same gospel, different vocabulary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're doing with these two episodes. You have the same story, just a different vocabulary.
Yeah. I also think some grown-ups, like in our generation, haven't thought much about these stories since when they were kids.
Oh, yeah.
And now their kids are asking questions, and we want grown-ups to be able to reflect as grown-ups and to also let you in on some stuff that you might have missed since you were in Sunday school or whatever that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my first question for you is, how were you taught the story of Adam and Eve?
Yeah, I think it's funny because sometimes we get ideas that I don't know exactly where they would come from or if someone actually said that to me. But like part of what I think I developed a sense of is like, this is a story about how Adam and Eve did bad things. Mm-hmm. And that bad things happen to bad people. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a very age-appropriate thing for children to kind of how children can sort it out. But I think the story is actually different than that. And what about you? How were you taught the story?
So we had this collection of VHS tapes.
Yes.
So you know how old I am. And they were all different Bible stories. Mm. And there was one.
Were they like animated?
They were animated, nice. Yes. And it was like this group of kids that they fall through a time portal.
Naturally.
And they end up like in Bible times.
Yes.
But the Adam and Eve one, they weren't. So like
they didn't go there.
They didn't go there.
Okay.
And so, and then, yeah, you have just the Adam and Eve walking around with strategically placed fig leaves and branches. Yeah. And then I remember the serpent had legs.
Yes.
Like a bunch of legs.
Oh, we talked about that a little bit.
In many evangelism. Yeah, and that's all I could imagine was this animation.
Yeah.
And I remember the fruit looked like, I never saw a fruit like it before until I played Crash Bandicoot.
Which I do not know what that is.
Okay, if you're a millennial like me.
Yes.
So I guess you're not a real millennial.
I'm an elder millennial.
Okay, well, if you're a cool millennial, then you played Crash Bandicoot.
Fair enough.
And the fruit that Crash Bandicoot would collect and eat looked just like the fruit from the Garden of
Nice.
the Garden of Eden.
So maybe there was a nerd like you leading the animation, the animation director.
Maybe so, but anyway, that was definitely the point. Is that they ate the fruit, they ran and hid with their strategically placed fig leaves,
right?
And then all of a sudden, they're in animal skins and they're very sad walking out the garden, and then the angel with the big flaming sword.
Yeah.
And that's all I remember is that Adam and Eve done messed up. They get kicked out of the garden, and that's it. That's how it ends. It just kind of ends on like a little sad note.
One of the things that broke this story open for me was seeing this as a story primarily about God and primarily about God saving Adam and Eve, of helping us see Adam and Eve as children that make a mistake that is at some level natural for them to make. And that God ultimately isn't just interested in punishing them. God is interested in helping them. Particularly by the fact that God says, on the day that you will eat this fruit, you will die. But the story ends with them not dead. So at some level, God's intervention has prevented their death. When you imagine it in your mind, I think you should imagine toddlers.
Okay,
because
go on.
If you actually pay attention to what Adam and Eve are doing, they're behaving like toddlers. Like toddlers can't really control what they want, and they always go for what they want most, regardless, because they can't even imagine the consequences.
Right.
I think that that helps us see that these humans, Adam and Eve, don't know what they're doing. And the serpent deceives them, tricks them. Like they are victims of being tricked. And I actually think we can start to see ourselves as like children and toddlers at heart. Mm-hmm. And hear the good news that God actually loves us as toddlers and as adults. And Jesus eventually even says, we should forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. And when you can see your siblings or your parents or your neighbors as other people who also don't know what they're doing and make sense and make mistakes, it actually helps us love God and love one another better.
Right.
And that's not necessarily the angle on the story that I think I inherited as a child.
Definitely not. And you corrected me in mini evangelism, and I was like, oh, it's taken me this long to realize it, because I had just always been told, don't eat from here. You are not allowed. Yeah. Like you can't do it.
Right.
Don't do it. And like Eve intentionally, and Adam eventually, but like intentionally broke this rule.
Right.
Right? Like that was the rule. That was it. And they made the mistake. They had intentionally disobeyed him and went against it. But then when you said about, well, he never said you couldn't.
Right.
He just said there's a consequence to this action.
Right. It's actually all given as a gift. And in addition to the gift, you get some wisdom from God. Mm-hmm. But what Adam and Eve end up going against is they end up doubting the wisdom of God and following their own sense of wisdom instead. Or the serpent gives them other evidence that brings them into doubt. So a lot of this sounds like getting God off the hook. And at some level, I think that's necessary because so many folks inherit an image of God that is only giving commands and punishments. But if you look closely at this story, another way to take it is that this is a God that's giving gifts and wisdom and preserving life rather than ending life.
So I'm going to ask you a question. This is something that I've always struggled with.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of people who maybe are struggling with their faith or questioning or whatever, a big thing is, why did God put the trees in the garden in the first place?
Yeah.
Right? You know, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I just want you to go further on that of like, why, if this was something bad, why did he put it there? It almost seemed like a trick or like a test. You know what I mean? And so look, why? It seems cruel.
Yeah. And in the Bible stories, God does put people to the test, but it's never for their destruction. In fact, it usually serves as a narrative device to help to keep the story going.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's really important is just to remember that these are stories about God. They have that in common with mythology, that they're not necessarily intended to be treated as like news reports or like live tweeting creation. It's not that kind of literature. It's a story, and elements of the story don't have a particular origin. They also conflict with other stories. Like we have two versions of creation.
Right.
That they're just stories of creation that are designed to tell a particular thing or to illustrate a particular thing. So we don't have a good question about like why the tree's there, why the serpent is there, who gave the serpent this false wisdom.
Right.
We don't have that. And in general, I think that's an indication that maybe that's not necessary to get something out of the story. Maybe having that answer isn't necessary to get out of the story. But when we look for an explanation for all things and we treat the Bible scientifically, that can kind of hamstring our openness to what the story has to say.
Right.
So you're invited to wonder those things. And whenever you have a chance to talk to God, you can ask those questions. In this life or the next. But I think part of the invitation for children and for adults is to come to it as a story and ask, it's not saying everything. What is it saying?
Right.
And we'll find that throughout our exploration of Bible stories.
Right.
Yeah.
There's definitely something you mentioned in evangelism, and it kind of resonated with me as a girl, as a woman in society. And that is Eve. Yeah. Taking the fall, man. I mean, she gets a really bad rap.
Yeah, and as like the mother of all women kind of get grouped together. I think again, that's probably bringing a question to the story that the story is not necessarily trying to answer. I don't think this is a story about gender roles. Right. Period. I think it's a story about God and about humanity as a whole. But historically, when people of faith or people with access to scripture have questions about gender roles or an agenda about gender roles, they'll find answers all over the place. But I don't think fundamentally this story is giving us an origin of gender roles. Now, the destiny that God discloses to Adam and Eve, it does kind of assign to Adam difficulty in agriculture. Difficulty in labor, and assigned to Eve difficulty in bearing children. And
as a mother of two of them, I will say I did not think positive things about Eve.
Sure.
During those two experiences.
That's fair. That's fair. It's interesting that earlier in the story, the commands or the calling that God gives to them there are two. First is to till and to keep the ground, to help the earth bring forth life. Right. And to be fruitful and multiply. Right. Again, to fill the earth with life. And there's a sense in which what God says is going to be the case now is that those things that I've told you to do are going to be more difficult now. And it's not necessarily that a woman's role is bearing children and a man's role is providing for the family. It's more, I think it corresponds more to, it will be more difficult now for you to follow me and to fulfill my commands because you've chosen to use your own wisdom. Right. It's also like an origin story for why does it hurt to have a baby and why do I have to work so hard to get food out of the earth? It's an origin story for that's kind of woven in. But I think what the story is saying is that the reason things are hard is because we don't depend fully on God. Right. And that ends up making life harder. And in the New Testament, Paul actually picks up on some of this language in his discussion of like why things are bad in the world, that eventually things will be better. But for now, we're all experiencing birth pangs. Right. That this image that's here given to Eve is Paul gives it to everybody. and says the struggles of life are the birth pangs that will eventually give birth to new life. But for now, Paul kind of draws a line between why things are difficult, even for Christians, even for God's own people, that it's all described as the birth pangs of Eve that we all bear together. Right. So generally, and I think I do have some agenda here. Like, I won't pretend that I don't want this to be the case. But I do think that it's worth questioning the gender roles that we think we get from the Bible. Because I think they probably actually come from our culture, and then we use the Bible to back them up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say, I definitely have a 21st century view of 21st century woman view of gender roles until it's time to cut the grass. And then I'm like, no, Adam was meant to till the land, my friend. So get out there with that lawnmower.
That's good. See, in all these things, in finding what you want in the Bible and getting out of the work you don't want to do. Exactly. We're all pretty self-serving.
Exactly. And that's why I don't cut my grass. That's why it's my husband's job.
Fair enough.
Yes.
My wife and I, we fight over cutting the grass because it's time when you cannot be with the children.
Oh, see, that's the opposite, because my kids only want to play outside. If Dad's out there cutting the grass.
No, I've got my noise canceling headphones, and I cannot talk to you. In fact, if you come near me, I will lift the mower so it scares you away. That's my flaming sword.
Is a lawnmower?
Is a lawnmower. Get out. Yeah. I'm not proud of it, but it's
true. A flaming lawnmower would be really cool.
That would be cool. Maybe just get some
some
decals.
Yes.
What do you think people should keep in mind when they talk to their kids about this story?
I definitely think the redemptive aspect of that. I think about when I was a kid. There was this one table in particular at my house that was my, I messed up table. And I remember specifically there was one time my mom told me not to touch the iron. She was ironing clothes. And I touched the iron. Yeah. I touched the metal parts.
Because you knew you weren't supposed to.
Because I didn't understand what the big deal is. She was touching it, so why can't I touch it? And so I touched the metal part. I burned my finger, and I went and hid under this table. That was my go-to table for messing up.
That was your fig leaf.
Exactly. Yeah. And my mom, I was more upset. My finger hurt really bad, but I was more upset and embarrassed that she was going to know that I made a mistake. Yeah. And that's just kind of always been the type of kid that I was I was just so worried about disappointing, right? Yeah. And I find that more and more kids, the kids that I talk to, it's not the fact that they made a mistake, it's the fact that they have disappointed an adult. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just because there's so much shame in our society of you've messed up, therefore you're a bad person. Yeah. Right? Mistake equals moral failing. Right. Bad person. And I think what this story says is, yes, there was a mistake and I guess a moral failing, whatever, but they weren't bad. God didn't immediately write bad on their foreheads and that was their life for the rest of their life, right? You keep going in Genesis and Adam and Eve, they end up having a pretty fruitful life, right? And and we don't focus on the bad. Yeah. And so I think when you're talking to your kids about that, really, really emphasizing that God stayed with them. Yeah. And that
I will stay with
mistakes. You. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And from the jump, we're making mistakes, friends.
Yeah.
Should we try to make a mistake? No.
Yeah, the Christian doctrine of original sin, I think it's gotten a bad rap, but it's also just true. Yeah. How old was your kid the first time they lied to you? In some ways, months old. Children are trying to deceive their parents.
How old were they when they first started talking?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one thing for grown-ups to keep in mind that are helping raise kids, that part of what this story does is kind of lower our expectations for one another. Yeah. And just kind of confess that we don't know what we're doing. And when we're trying to manage discipline, which is just such a hard thing and difficult thing that I fail more often than I get right. If I ever get it right, it's I remember that at some level they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And when I get down on myself for getting it wrong, that's also the thing that helps me get through that, is remembering that I also don't know what I'm doing as a parent.
Yes.
And that God's not going to abandon me. And when I get it wrong, it doesn't mean that I've got bad written on my head either.
Mm-hmm.
I loved what you said about the concept of grounding. I've never thought about it that way. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that, which our kids won't realize until they're, 30s. But,
Yes.
but that's an interesting thing to ponder, is when there's a mistake, what does it take to help our kids get grounded in some way, particularly like in the love of God or in our love for them. And when we make a mistake, what's a way that we can get grounded? Like just this morning, we had a rough morning. I woke up just in a grumpy mood, and in some ways took it out on my kids. And after that was over, I had to kind of get grounded again and pray that they know that I love them, even though I wasn't acting in a particularly loving way, and try to figure out what was it that was really going on. And even in just a moment, just kind of ask for forgiveness and another opportunity to try again, and to ask for God's help.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think the one other piece of advice, which will probably be a recurring theme on mini evangelism, is if and when your kids have questions about God, keep them talking. Don't feel like you have to have all the answers. I think a gift we can give to kids is be their safety net for their exploration, and not feel like we have to have all the answers. They can have wrong answers, and you can be like, "That's interesting. Thanks for sharing that with me." I do think I've heard from parents that feel anxious or shameful when they don't know the answer to their kids' questions.
You can say it's me. It's fine.
Oh no, it's not. It's not. It's not you, and it's not
just me.
It's me too. But like the stakes for their understanding these stories and understanding what God is like and understanding what life is like, the stakes are low. God willing, they've got plenty of time to figure that out, and they don't have to have it right, and neither do the parents.
And I would also encourage parents to actually listen to what your kids are saying.
Yeah.
Because these kids are so smart.
Yeah. And
sometimes they will say something that is like really profound, or they'll make a point. I know Daisy's point of, God left the garden too. I had not really given that much thought until she said that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, you figured that out at 8 years old. Yeah. And here I am, sitting smack in the middle of my 30s, and I'm not even giving that a thought.
Right. And there's a sense in which, like, that is also God, like, speaking to us through the kids. So, I think just a general sense of openness and not fear is a good way to explore Bible stories and God language with kids.
Yeah. Can I hit you with another I wonder?
Sure.
Because grown-ups have I wonders too.
Yep.
I wonder what it was like for Adam and Eve knowing what they had whenever they're faced with what they have. You know what I mean? Like, I just think I mentioned when I got grounded how I had to sit with my parents in church, and I got to see all my friends sitting together and just having so much fun. Yeah. And it, like, how much harder that hit a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think that was like for them? I wonder what that was like for them, like, whenever Adam, had to pull a weed.
Yeah, or later when they have two sons and one of them kills the other. Yeah. Yeah. I think...
when they had to protect... he was probably having to protect his family from animals, too.
Sure. I think, the word that comes to mind is just, like, regret. Uh-huh. And what does it mean to live with regret? And... gosh, do I know what that is like.
But do you think that's a bad thing? Do you think regret is a bad thing? Or do you think that's another gift that we have to just kind of appreciate?
Yeah, I think what's important to notice and to hold on to is that regret and hope can live together. Ooh, that regrets about our past don't actually diminish the hope that we can have. Mm-hmm. I think that's a theme through the scriptures, and a part of a Christian understanding of hope is that it cannot actually be touched. It cannot be destroyed. You're never ruined by your mistakes or by your regrets. You have to live with them. You can lament them. You can be forgiven for them and spend your whole life trying to accept that forgiveness. But in the end, it does not touch the hope that's been promised you. And I think that's part of what I hope that, Adam and Eve got to know in their lifetime. It's also part of why when Jesus comes around, he's referred to as a new Adam.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. He is a new Adam. And rather than like coming out of him like a rib, we're told that like by our baptism, we are placed within him. Or like we put him on.
Yeah.
And so we are not left only with the old Adam or the old Eve. We're given a new Adam and Eve in Jesus. And so our regrets will stick around. But part of the life of faith is actually not letting it kill your sense of hope.
I think that's really important for people to remember.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people, I'm one of those people that just needs to be reminded of that like this, I loved when you said like, this didn't ruin you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to ruin you.
Yeah.
You keep on going.
Right.
That's
Thanks
awesome.
be to God.
Amen.
Yeah. All right. We hope this was enjoyable or helpful for you in your minivan or wherever you're listening to this. And we hope that tonight you get a moment of peace, knowing that you and your children are loved and that your children have an even better parent than you in God.
Yes. And if you have any questions, you can turn to Genesis chapter 2 or you can reach out to us. We will be more than happy to ponder your I wonders with you.
And maybe respond to them in another episode.
Yes, most definitely. All right. Y'all have a good one.
Take care. Bye.
Mini-Vangelism and the Driver's Seat are hosted by Anna Burrell and Drew Colby. Theme song written by David Burrell and produced by Evan Setzer. The theme song was performed by David Burrell, Drew Colby, and Evan Setzer. Podcast, sound design, and editing done by David Burrell. Mini-Vangelism and the Driver's Seat are a ministry of Grace United Methodist Church in Manassas, Virginia. For more information, check out umcgrace.org.